Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Top prospect Tony Yoka of France returns to the ring this weekend with a fight with Joel Tambwe Djeko, and it will be for the European Union title. Not to be confused with the EBU title, but it is run and administered by the same organisation. So the European Union title against Djeko, who's a former cruiserweight with a record of 17-2-1. So we'll get into a few thoughts about the fight, but I don't want to sort of labour on that because this, from all appearances, is a gross mismatch, and Djeko is a lamb to the slaughter here. Former cruiserweight, really not too much on the record. Tony Yoka does have the class, the pedigree, the form. This should pretty much be, an early night for Tony Yoka. Currently 9-0, looking for his 10th win. But there's one or two things that I did want to sort of get into regarding Yoka and the sort of what next, because let's face it, he signed that deal with Top Rank and hasn't been able to take advantage of it. And I'm sure Top Rank want to get some value out of the deal, and they want to make him a star, and in turn, that helps them, and obviously everyone gets paid. But anyway, there is a press release that has come out in Fight Week from ESPN, actually. So the fight itself is in France, so that's where Yoka is fighting at the moment. His most recent fights, despite the deal with ESPN and Top Rank, etc., have been in France, and that's because of the pandemic. So the graphic here, you can see this is the press release. It is going to be on ESPN Plus, so the US market does have a chance to get another look at Tony Yoka, what he's all about. But this really for me is a showcase fight. He is going to look good, get a stoppage, get a piece of hardware, and then hopefully on to the next one. But pretty brief press release, a few little details talking about the co-feature, which actually features his wife, and then you have one quote, which is basically two sentences. I'm excited to once again showcase my talents live in the United States on ESPN+. Djeko is a formidable opponent who I cannot overlook as I continue to move up the rankings. Tony Yoka's statement there for the ESPN Plus press release. So as it says, it's going to be quite early for US watchers, 2:40 p.m. Eastern and 11:40 a.m. Pacific time. So that is some early boxing action there. But yeah, even though he says Djeko's a formidable opponent, not really, but it is true that he cannot overlook him entirely. It is heavyweight boxing after all. One punch can change a fight, but I'm not expecting an upset. And if there was one, well, it would really, truly shock me. I think Tony Yoka, you'd have to sort of reassess his career going forward if he was beaten by a former cruiserweight who really hasn't done much of anything to no one. But I'm expecting this one to end early, inside 3 or 4 rounds tops, and I think he's going to look good. He'll get a stoppage. Maybe there's a round or two of feeling out, but he is going to start busting him up, take him out, and then he will do his post-fight, this sort of almost ritual where gets the stoppage and then sort of does that Tony Yoka-esque scream sort of celebration, which is often captured and shown when people are, especially media, are talking about Tony Yoka. You know the scream that I'm talking about that they capture. But it's the what next, I guess, is, well, ESPN and Top Rank, they're going to come calling, because at this point, who knows what's actually really going to happen with the current pandemic, and there's going to become a point where if things just become into a status quo, which sort of feels like it has been to some extent. The past year, obviously we know what's all gone on and happened around the world, and some places a bit worse than others, etc. But we're still really in the midst of it. Really no end in sight, despite a vaccine, etc. So there is going to become a time when ESPN and Top Rank, they come calling, call in their horse and Tony Yoka that they've signed up here on this deal, and they want to put him out to actually fight in the United States, make them some money, build his own profile, and he is one of these guys that's part of this next wave of heavyweight contenders. Yoka already via the BoxRec system is ranked 13th in the world. And in terms of prospects, him and Joe Joyce have the best records, I believe, the best opposition for the small number of fights that they've had. Yoka himself is, so he'll get this win against Djeko, but he's fought and beaten Christian Hammer, Johan Dorpa, Mikael Wallisch, Alexander Dimitrenko, and Jonathan Rice. That was in his second fight. That's all inside 10 fights in Djeko to be the 10th. So he's done pretty well for a prospect in the terms of the opposition, the matchmaking. It hasn't necessarily been a soft touch. He was sort of delayed a year because he turned pro, and then, mid-2018, he missed some testing. He was in the United States. For one of the occasions, he missed some drug testing. He was actually sparring Joseph Parker. But it wasn't just the one test. He missed multiple tests, and he was banned for a year by the French Federation. Decided to sit, didn't fight outside of France, which he could have done, and maybe he should have done. But now he's going to be fighting in the United States at some point. They need to get him in, at least probably for a showcase fight, first up in the United States, where he's actually in the United States, then hopefully on to something a little bit more meaningful. Maneuver him in the rankings, try to get some sort of eliminator, something on the line, some piece of hardware where we can sort of go, okay, that's okay, but it's got to be better than sort of where he's already been. So he's already fought Christian Hammer, proved that he can beat a guy like Christian Hammer, who's roughly somewhere around top 30 or so. He's ready for bigger and tougher tests. Obviously, Djeko's not that, but the one after that, or the 2 fights down the line, if he is in the United States, that's where we're going to see him starting to really progress through the levels to the, he's basically finishing out his prospect sort of apprenticeship, as it were. And it is time that, we see some of these new guys, the new blood, actually starting to take over. Because the delay in Olympic cycles and other bits and pieces, the pandemic things getting slowed down, feels like the natural order of things in terms of how it has gone for so long now has been held up. And some of the guys who would naturally be coming through and getting title shots, and because there is a logjam at the top of the heavyweight division with title shots and all that sort of being in at a premium, not too many of those going around. Feels like we haven't had a lot of regeneration recently, and Yoka is definitely part of that next wave. But what are you expecting from Yoka against Djeko, and the what next? Where do you see things going? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.